Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Vibhuti Jha. We are at that point in time in history, in the elections of the presidential election, where for the first time the president is not conceding because the electoral votes have not been counted correctly. And in his impression of things, he will vacate the White House if Mr. Biden is able to establish the electoral votes victory that is required to be the president and certification thereto. So somebody had remarked that president is not being democratic. He is being, fussy. He is being ridiculous by not conceding. So the question that does arise, that is president right within his constitutional means to ascertain and verify the authenticity of the election. Now we also know that Supreme Court ruled that Pennsylvania, there will be admission of evidences to make sure that the constitutionality of mail-in voting is established. The one thing which does bother my mind, and I have been very firm about it, is that how can a country like America that controls spaceships from Houston and is not able to come to a conclusion about counting of votes and in my opinion, the facade of voter suppression, that people are not being allowed to vote because they have no proper ID, takes me back to India, where 600 million people vote plus people vote in the elections, and everybody has a voter ID. So how can the United States not encourage people to get an ID? You don't need a driver's license. You need to go to DMV to get a photo ID, and that is given. So if to enter a building, we need a photo ID, or to do anything that we need to do photo ID, how is it that United States talks about, particularly Democratic Party, talks about voter suppression and not allowing the voters to exercise their franchise? It's a very important question. And this is what is at test, which is being talked about. So to discuss this matter today, and many more things that we will discuss alongside, I have great pleasure in welcoming two of my very good friends. One is Mr. Puneet Ahluwalia. He is in Virginia. Puneet is an active Republican, and he is an aspirant for the Lieutenant Governor's position when it opens up next year. So Puneet, welcome to the show. And we would, the audience would very much like to hear your point of view, as you are a committed Republican, on the issue of presidential, conceding the election and whatever is going on. And the second gentleman is Sharad Mohan. He is in Nashville, Tennessee. Sharad is an IT professional, an author, entrepreneur, and the recent book that he wrote about reviving Bihar has received much acclaim. And a lot of things are happening on that count. And Sharadji, for being a fellow Bihari, I can say that Bihar is symptomatic of India's problems. If Bihar's problems are fixed, India's problems get fixed automatically. So whether it was Jayaprakash Narayan or the poverty, the caste-ridden system, all these things that ail Bihar has prevented Bihar from achieving a great position, we can talk about the Indian context. So welcome, gentlemen. And I will hit off with Puneet with two specific requests to address. One is the Supreme Court ruling in Pennsylvania, where they halted the count and they have asked that the witnesses be brought forth and evidence be brought forth to ensure that everything happened correctly, that legal people voted, the legal votes are counted, and the mail-in voting, the constitutionality of the mail-in voting, how does it shape up in this particular election? Puneet, yours.
First thing is, Vibhuti, thank you for having me, and Sharad, an honor to share the platform with you. I have to share another important thing. I'm an honorary Jha. I have a lot of Bihari friends, and they've given me so much support, and especially in the press circle in India. A lot of Biharis have a great, they have played an incredible role in doing things. So I am proud to be their friend and part of their family. So I think a strong Bihar is a strong heartbeat of India. Yeah. So that keeps India healthy. Vibhuti, very good question. But before I go into it, I just want your viewers to know there has been a deliberate, and before that, when President Trump became the nominee by the Democratic chosen people of the Republican Party, I was honored to serve on his Asian American Advisory Committee. A lot of people were not that time very bold and strong in supporting him. But as an Indian American, I believe that when we are given a role to play, you might as well take the bullet on the chest. And that's the reason why I have always looked at luckily my friends were also working in the campaign. It was a very shoestring campaign on the defense side and other avenues of the campaign for President Trump. And he became 2016 elected. They have been deliberately finding ways to undermine his presidency. And what he has shown is that if a person is committed and is pro-business and looking at the bottom line, doesn't care about the sensitivities of what people like, may not like, and that's where he has, that is the reason why a lot of people didn't like him. But if you look at his bottom line, he's achieved whatever mandate he had promised to the people of the United States on campaign promise. He, one after the other, he took them on, and he finished and literally finished the job in a short span of time. And before he was hit by the Chinese virus, which I call, which undermined our country's democracy and trust to the leadership, because the Chinese lied on that. So, and then before we were conversing, the Democratic Party from that time onwards till the time he was nominated, of course, the checks were being done, the FBI was on him. And then from the day he was taking the oath, the Antifa was burning down and creating riots in DC, and that was a test case at that time. And then we had a sham impeachment trial last year, this time. So they have been on an ongoing agenda to defeat President Trump. And then what they did is in Pennsylvania and other states, they found a way to use the voting process, especially the mail-in voting process, to their advantage. They kind of keep changing it. And unfortunately, the Democratic Party has not realized that we live in a free democracy. And of course, with the support of the big tech and then big CNN, MSNBC, and of course, the social media platforms, they've kind of built a narrative that President Trump is bad. He's not done a single good thing for the country, and he's harmful to the democracy, whereas they have undermined the democracy at every step. So to answer to really build it all up is that there has been a deliberate effort to defeat President Trump from the time he was nominated. And what in Pennsylvania they've done is, again, found a way to count the votes, which should not be counted because, one, they came in late, and second, they were not properly checked. And we have all known, the Republican Party has known that Pennsylvania has been a hub for fraud and abuse of mail-in votes and voting. So the dead people have voted, elderly people have voted, and I'm glad that the Trump team got on the ground and got those affidavits signed so that we can share with American people that the legal process is in place in this country, and we're going to find a way to identify each voter who really did vote or not. And that's the process which is going on. And as you said, Vibhuti, our conversation before with Sharaji is, have patience in the process. And the reason is why, if you are so confident you have won, you have nothing to worry about.
Thank you very much. And that brings me to other part that this Trump-Biden legacy. We have to talk about it as well. That Biden has definitely a huge chance to occupy the presidency. One of the things that bothered me significantly was that while Trump was, literally hounded from day one, while he was being sworn in, you had a march in Washington, D.C., where people were saying he's not my president.
Yep.
And they were trying to undermine him from day one. Yep. And Biden talks about no demonization, unity. Will Biden be able to bring that? You hounded this man as evil right from day one until the elections, and even today. He has been under a constant barrage of attacks. Do you think, Sharadji, that Biden will be able to really arrive at a reconciliation, or it is just about a political humbug being played, that don't do to me what I did to you? So what is Biden legacy going to be in that point of view? And I will add a little bit of a chess game board play. that Biden's presidency reminds me of a chessboard. He's a king that moves highly protected by all his pawns and significant crew on the chessboard.
Sure.
He makes a move only one block at a time, and he will be heavily protected. This presidency has interestingly enough, in my opinion, has not been won by Biden. It has been his crew that has won him. You can see the appointment of his cabinets; they're all Obama guys back.
Yeah.
So the question is whether Biden will have what kind of a legacy he would like to build, having fulfilled his ambition to become the president. What do you think?
So thanks, Vibhuti Ji, for giving me this opportunity. I think Puneet Ji has rightly summed up the beginning statements regarding Trump being continuously under the barrage of all this kind of allegation and pressurizing him. I think one of the mistake or one of the challenge which was he took the strong Clinton foundation or the Clinton deep state when he fought for the election, and that's where these people have not pardoned him, and henceforth all the things which has happened based on that. Now, what is going to be Joe Biden's legacy or starting? Well, Joe Biden, when he was part of the Obama team, he had brought a lot of people, especially the person who will be handling the foreign affairs, right? What is his name? Anthony Blinken. So Blinken. Mr. Blinken was actually nominated by Joe Biden in Obama's team. Okay, so first of all, I'll have to wait till 14 to actually accept him as a president. The still election has not concluded, but assuming he becomes a president, his legacy, the way it's seen, will not be what he was as a vice president. He will play an active role. He has already given a statement that he will not be Obama third term. He has already given that statement very clearly. Now, whether he will be successful or not, that's a different issue. We'll come as we discuss in the debate various things which we can bring. But it will be interesting for the entire world. If you see, Putin has still not congratulated him. Chinese premier congratulated him just 2 days back. So I was thinking, did Modi rush too early when he congratulated him almost 1.5 or 2 weeks back? But having said that, I think it won't be the same experience the world had with Donald Trump. He is basically the politician who will bring the old America back into the international politics, where America is driven by the bureaucrats, the strong CIAs and all those deep state into all the policy making, rather than a politician. In a democracy, a politician should be making important decision, and that's where the debate is happening within Democrats, whether the party should be dominated by the bureaucrats who are not elected or by the politician. And it will be interesting to see how he unfolds that.
That's a good point, and that brings me to another aspect of the conversation, and that is that Mr. Trump on Friday made a statement that the credit for Wuhan virus vaccines cannot be claimed by Biden, which is, in my opinion, absolutely true. And the economic resurgence that has restarted has been entirely his achievement. Dow going through 30,000 and the recovery of the markets. Now, how do you think about that, Puneet? Is that Biden's nomination to all the senior positions that have been announced, you perhaps know each one of them candidates, is it really not Obama 3? Is the statement by Biden that it will not be Obama 3 is only naam ke vaste? Or is there any substance to that fact that it will not be Obama 3? Although, I may add also that the AOC-led gang, the Bernie Sanders, Warren, all these people will push for a very strong socialist kind of a system. And even Biden's staff is unhappy how they have been overlooked in the composition of the new cabinet.
Yeah, because I had heard that the people were in Biden campaign were complaining about Obama folks coming in and saying, "Where were you when we needed help?" But I just wanted to build on Sharajit's comment. President Trump had a very clear goal: America first, and Biden would be, as most Democrats are, the apologize for America for who we are and what we are. We are very independent-minded folks and believe in what we believe in. So it'll be business as usual. But here's the problem in Biden. He's brought in the same cast of characters who are not really competent. They've been made competent by the press, but nobody in the press is going to come out and say that. They are folks who are just his friends for the last 47 years who are just going to get the plush, cushy job. And beside him having his own imaginative issues of being able to communicate to the people, I think Kamala Harris is going to exert herself, unlike the way Vice President Pence took a very strong number 2 position. The Nancy Pelosi is completely finished because what has happened is that our gains as Republicans in the House has become far more stronger. So she's going to have a tough time there. And at the same time, most likely will retain the control of the Senate. Most of the work is going to be done through the executive branch, which is going to be Biden taking on his own agenda. And you were very right. This party is not a party. Democratic Party is now a socialist party. Their bent and their push is going to be all socialist. And you can see where Kamala Harris has come from. Is the leftist, from California. It is where the whole imagination starts from, and the support of the Hollywood. So you can see the country getting more on the left. And luckily, I believe that the Republican Party, along with President Trump, are going to play a very instrumental role to hold their feet to the fire. So what I can say is that we should brace ourselves for things to get back to worse. And I'll give you the reason why. Because the economy is we haven't seen the tsunami of defaults which are coming. We're basically kind of kicking the can down the road. At the same time, we're also seeing the economic crisis, the home mortgage crisis, and business crisis, because the Democrats are going to raise the taxes, and with their gas tax, with their climate change tax, along with the other taxes which they love to suffocate the business class and the middle class, which they say they don't, but they do it through 1,000 cuts, and the failures in the education system, and most importantly, the morale of the police is so down, Vibhuti. I've talked to police officers. I've been doing that as I campaign. They just want them to collect their check and be gone. And I'll give you the reason why, Sharad, which is very important for our discussion today. Their goal is to neutralize and neuter our police for the next few years, so that by calling the systemic racism issue, so they don't do anything. And then what they do is, once they have conditioned them mentally, what they want to do is then they will become the tool of the government, which is the Democratic government, to go out and be hard on those citizens. Till Antifa and the base of the Democratic Party does what they do. But when the free-loving individuals like us who believe in rights to protect ourselves will come out, the same police force will be used against us. This is what you can see is where the chaos is going to be going in the next 3 to 4 years. That's my take.
That's a very powerful take that you have shared, Puneet, and I kind of agree with you, because just as you know a few police officers, I happen to know a few in New York City and Long Island. They are so disappointed that they are saying that for one bad apple, the entire crop has been destroyed. Yeah. And that's a very, very unfortunate thing, because in this society, you don't see police everywhere. The system runs on trust. At
Yes.
2 o'clock in the morning at a red light, you and I stop.
Exactly.
Nobody's watching us. At a stop sign, forget about the red light, even at the street corner stop sign, we stop for that fraction of a second. That trust, if it disappears, the system is built on trust and confidence, and that is the one which is going to hurt the system a lot. And
And the other thing is, Vibhuti, I just want to share a very important thing for you. Most of our Indian Americans or Asian Americans, the reason is, as it's seen, we don't realize we have become so successful. We have become role models. And who would be the target of these folks? People who are successful like us.
Right. And it is coming. It's coming. Because, that's what is a worrisome factor, that most of the Indians who are, I don't know the reason why they are Democrats, other than they live in democratic controlled states. We Indians are absolutely smitten and go mushy over Kamala's name. Whereas Kamala has not even once bothered to, until now, talk about her Indian heritage. Even in her acceptance speech, or one of the important speeches, she didn't say my mother came from India. She said her mother came when she was 19. That's it. So Sharadji, one of the things, since Kamala Harris's name has come in, and I was referring to the chessboard equation, here is, I want to introduce my conspiracy theory, or my intelligent guesstimate, so to say.
Go ahead.
Talking about Biden legacy.
All keen.
Biden is very old, very weak. Let's put this fact into place. He was also suspected of having dementia and things like that, where his speeches were remarkably incoherent. So he's a propped up candidate. He's a managed candidate. I have a feeling that he may quit after his second State of the Union address in 2022 and usher in the first woman Black president in the United States. That will be his legacy. Number two, the idea is to continue the legacy of Democratic Party, Obama legacy. And Harris is the person to carry that forward, who incidentally was thrown out by her own party in her own presidential campaign. So she is a loser from that point of view, but she is the queen on the chessboard of Biden legacy. She has the one who will control the narrative. And as extreme left she is, she would like to go into 2024 as a president seeking re-election rather than vice president trying to aspire to the presidency. So strategically, I have a feeling that Biden will quit for one reason or the other, and Kamala Harris will come, and that will be the new agenda for the Democratic Party to get into 2024 election and quell the potential uprising in Congress, a Democratic Party, for a contest against the sitting president. Your thoughts?
So, if I sounded a person from a conservative ideology or mindset deserting Donald Trump, it's not like that. We are still thinking. That's why I said December 14th is when I will actually accept somebody as even a president, right?
We are all in the same frame, no doubt about it.
Yes. So the 80 million votes which Joe Biden is claiming, 80 million versus 74 million for Donald Trump. If you see, California adds up around 7 to 10 million votes, right?
Oh, really?
So yes, it's a huge. And if you see, there was a Pew research which says that this is the first time when 60, I have written somewhere, there's around 58% of the votes for Biden came from absentee ballot, 58%. So the entire democracy is sham in this country when we say that the election date, because election date has no value anymore. It's 27% vote in person was casted to Trump team on the election date. Rest, everything was like 15 days of, you keep on adding as if, you are running some kind of a tic-tac game where you are adding your scores, and if finally on election day, somebody becomes president. So this is a sham which America needs to fix, because this is 200-year-old democracy. It has reached a stage where it needs to be rebooted, the way I had written a book on rebooting another state in India. So a lot of things, if you see the data, you'll be really, really surprised the amount of absentee ballot this guy got, right? And he's claiming 80 million votes. Now he has beaten Obama by around 10 million or some vote, right? And here is Donald Trump, 69 million, 69.5 million was what Mr. Obama got, all-time, Democrat or liberal president, right? Great president. And even this guy sitting in bunker beats Obama, right? If you see the Black Americans, they voted more, almost more to Obama than this guy. Still, he adds up. So there is definitely a fraud in the election, right now, because half of the country is divided. They either like Donald Trump or they don't like. There's no middle way, right. And that's where entire judiciary, deep state, everybody has taken stand. Even the tech companies, if you see the way Twitter is banning even the Pennsylvania people, important people. That's like so surprising. So I have not considered yet. I am not considered yet, but I am hoping on the electoral process. Maybe Supreme Court will show us some positive result. Now, coming back to the Kamala Harris theory, which you mentioned, right? Well, age is just a number in this country. If you see Nancy Pelosi, the lady is 82 years old, still 5 years older, older to, or 4 years older to Joe Biden. And the guy who was the chief of staff for Nancy Pelosi, who was one of the key player in the Dominican Republic software company. Okay, so he's a key guy. His name is I think Nadim El Shami. Nadim El Sami is a a particular faith guy who was important member. So all this script was done long time back, like 3-4 years. They have really worked very hard in making sure that 10-11 million votes, which you see on the higher side with Mr. Biden, has all been smartly manipulated. So he is definitely not the president who America has voted. That's for sure. Kamala Harris taking in 2022 may be a possibility, the way you are mentioning, and that is one of the. So another theory which I'll add to you is India has already started working in Tamil Nadu. First time BJP government in Tamil Nadu, Amit Shah doing a walk in Tamil Nadu, Chennai, which was totally not possible some time back. Why suddenly now? Tamil Nadu is a state where Indian central government will not allow regional players to make all the shots. And this is where they have entered into Tamil Nadu, leaving even Kerala and Karnataka right now. So a lot of things are happening at that front, but we can discuss as we go forward. I'm still very, very shocked with the way the tech companies are playing a important role now in deciding whom to block. This is not America we all know or we are working for. This is not the America where only one view is promoted, and it's so biased.
So
yeah,
that's a very, very important point. And Puneet, I'll come to you with the thought process is that, if this has been going on in the Democratic Party, they were trying to plot, plan, and insinuate the outcome that we are seeing today. As a sportsman, I know a couple of things. You play, you score. Biden didn't even play the game. So how did he muster in 80 million votes? Where did the votes come from? That's one thing which really intrigues me. It's like saying that, you were in the field, you swung the bat and a couple of ball went for boundary and sixes. That also doesn't seem to have happened. But the important part here is how Republican Party did not catch on to that a president who had fought and won in 2016, they have been planning and plotting his demise right from day one. And we know that how the impeachment thing, the rubbish of impeachment happened. How come Justice Department is not taking any action against this part of the thing? Why special counsel were not nominated for investigating Biden's scandal in Ukraine, where he is on TV openly threatening a government, a sovereign government in Ukraine? You bloody well remove that guy or you are not getting your billion. Nobody talks about that. Famous statement of Barack Obama when he was with Medvedev, that wait till the elections are over, then I will have more flexibility to do that. Nobody knows what that flexibility President Obama was talking about. And I'm not casting any aspersion, but I have a right to ask a question. And I want to know about that. So the question is, how come Republican Party slept at the wheel and not been part of the process in keeping an eye that somebody was trying to plot a voter usurpation, if I use the word, through electronic means, and how the big tech played the role here?
And I'll add one thing very quickly, one line, Puneet, before you answer this. The President Trump, right? The way he campaigned for the our cops, right? When they were trying to defund the cops, I have a it's like, it's not complaint, but I'm really sad the president who stood for these cops, right? And we should be proud of that because we all wanted that way. Why were they sleeping when the USPS trucks were taking all the manufactured ballots? They knew everything. If either their intelligence is weak, or they are incompetent, or they were silently quiet because they all succumbed to some kind of organization for some vested interest. So if you have any insight, because I feel very angry because here is a president who fought for these cops, and entire trucks, it was moved, like in Pennsylvania or other places, without the distribution system, without the USPS, this thing would not have happened. I'm talking about the absentee ballot. So somewhere we have definitely left our president unguarded.
Sharad, the emotion and the passion is there.
Yeah.
But I wanted to share what Vibhuti, I want to lead with my first thought. You see, Newt Gingrich said very correctly, we Republicans play badminton while the Democrats are playing Super Bowl football. So that's the difference. I think there were a few mistakes, strategic mistakes we did. There was another one which I read was we were focusing on campaign and they were focusing on the winning strategy.
Yeah.
President Trump wanted everybody to come out and vote on the day of the election, and they were basically piling up all the votes in millions beforehand and positioning themselves. And I'll tell you one prime example which happened in Virginia. Henrico County had more ballots, that came in, and then they were sent out. And then beside that, the ones that have been counted, there was still about a few thousand left to be counted. So there was a large scale, I would say, fraud that happened. Now, we need to find the smoking gun. And I'm going to reel back more in this. Vibhuti, what you are doing with this medium is so important. And I'll give you the reason why, because we Republicans don't have storytellers anymore. The story is being told from Hollywood. And you have the big tech, the social media platform, the CNN, the MSNBC. What they have done is they have taken on what you call as a constant barrage on conditioning our mind. Because what happens is when you hear on an everyday basis that Trump is bad, he's not doing every good, and then people say, well, there must be some truth. And in that weak moment, that what you're trying to put is cast that doubt in a candidate. And that's what they were trying to do. And I believe that these kind of mediums are so important that we build a base of reaching out to folks. People don't read newspapers anymore. I think people have a short span of time or short attention span. So we have to create our own story to be told in different ways. We have to have an alternate to share that what Biden and his sons were doing, the kind of the democratic shenanigans that have taken place, because people really don't get a chance to read that. That's the biggest problem we have. At the same time, we also need to have storytellers from the Republican side. So let's say tomorrow you always have these folks, and that's the reason why I chose to run for office, was that we need to tell the message. Folks like you and I have to combine our resources together. So we are the message and the messenger. We need resources to get the message all across. That is so important, Sharadji. Now, I'll give you an answer about your concern about the president being left on the blind side. Look, it takes time to compile evidence. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of police officers, very honest, very hardworking, dedicated to life. Basically, they get up every day to protect us, our families. In fact, that's hats off to them. And my grandfather was in the police. So what has happened is the unions, they are far more vested. The union bosses say, well, stand down, stand off. And that's the reason what you've seen the failures in blue states, in blue managed counties or states where they have mayors. Look at New York as a prime example, Vibhuti. You know how the Democratic mayor has neutered and neutralized the police. This is exactly what it is to condition the mind of the police officer, to neutralize them and neuter them. That's what is happening. And now it's also going to the public. I believe we are at, as you said, Sharaji, that our democracy is in peril. It is in peril because the forces are there, because we cannot be attacked and defeated from outside. So the only way to do it is to defeat it from within. Yeah. And that is the reason why the Chinese, the Russians, the enemies of our country are basically clapping hands that they were able to take one man who believed in the Quad, who believed in strong US-India partnership, one man who saw that democracy will sustain. And look at what he's done. He's taken out of unnecessary wars. He's built one of the best peace process, the Abraham Accord with Israel and Saudi Arabia, and other countries are following the suit. We would have had a fantastic 4 more years under President Trump, where the economy would have revived. Now, I'll tell you, the economy doesn't revive because of the president, but it's the belief in the leadership is going to be stable, that tomorrow you're going to have a job. Tomorrow you're going to be able to come back out. The banks are going to loan you money so that you can do it. Right now, everything is at a standstill, and it is going to be far worse under the Democratic Party. That's what our people have to wake up and understand. And your medium is so important to get the message out.
Thank you. Thank you very much for saying that. And that's what we are trying to do, is to ask a question. And that's what worries me about in America right now. And that brings me to the other point. And that's one whistleblower who was kept secret by the Californian congressman. You know the name, the Californian congressman, who was, the whistleblower was almost given a divine status.
Yeah.
Right? Kept secret, protected. But the whistleblowers who are coming against the Dominican software and the Venezuelan company fronting here, they are being threatened, they are being harassed, and they are being hounded. So much so that the Trump attorneys are having to say that maybe we will have to enter them in a witness protection program. Wow. This is what brings me to the left ideology, which is driving this country crazy, and it's driving this economy into a standstill, is that somewhere along the line, the left, the Marxists, the Islamists, the left liberals, they have entered into the educational mainstream of America. So much so that I know on a first-hand basis that majority of our group of people are worried that their children's minds have been brainwashed totally brainwashed. Now, so look at the game, like we talked about, the strategic game or the vicious game, that while we are trying to play the game to win fairly, the other guy, candidate Biden, made a statement that we have set up the most significant fraudulent organization in the country. Now, nobody's talking about that, right? There's a fraud causing thing. So that's the problem. And you are right, Puneet, that they are not even talking about that subject matter at all. The media goes silent. And if you ask a question, you are attacked. Yep. You are attacked, you are viciously attacked. And that's something somebody told me. That's why I put the black screen behind me, is that why should anybody know whether I have Bhagavad Gita next to me or Ramayana next to me? Let nobody know anything about it. So point of the matter is the American democracy as we know it coming to an end with the Democratic Party? Is it under a threat? Because there's a very important point here. You teach a man to fish and he will never be hungry in his life. You give him a donation, or you put him under welfare, and he will perpetually be poor and he will have nothing to do. That dream is shattered, is getting shattered in America, because the Democratic Party have somewhere along the line captured the socialist mode of equality. Don't worry, we will do something. And I have said this in the program before, and I will seek both of you comment on that, that when I try to analyze the Democratic Party platform, the two legs that they stand on, in my opinion, is unfettered immigration and promise to give and do things for free in a country that taught us there is no free lunch. Even 800 toll-free calls is being paid for by somebody. So in a country where you were told that work hard and you will make your living and life, you are being told, don't worry, we'll take care of you. So if that were to happen, are we seeing a major shift in that strategy that Democratic Party is trying to bring about, whereby the left liberal equality thing, everybody says everybody must have everything. The sense of entitlement that is driving this country under Democratic Party, is it going to be the undoing of people like you and I? Indians are the most prosperous community. They are loved. I know one thing for sure, that Indians are liked by the American mainstream because we work hard, we are professionals, we are highest income, we are least problem from the law and order point of view, but we don't command any clout. Sharad.
Okay, so good point. And very quickly, just yesterday, 26/11, right? when the entire world was celebrating, in fact, Thanksgiving here in India, in Mumbai. There are families who suffered from the radicals, and they are still suffering because the justice has not come. And interestingly, same day we also have our India's Constitution Day, which is when the actual original constitution came.
Right.
And I was going through that too, interesting thing on my Twitter, and I saw that the original Constitution of India didn't have the word socialism, secular and socialism. It was added way
Yes.
back in 1976 by 42nd Amendment. And I was wondering, a poor country like India, when it started in 47, till 76, it did had a word called socialism. And here in America, we are revisiting socialism, which is totally against our the America of our forefather, right? We never thought that socialism will be in this country. It was, you work hard, you make your life, and you do good. So it's a meritocracy versus having a blanket thing for everybody. But again, we are really worried. I am really worried with socialism getting into the Democrats' foundation pillars. And I think my take on that, Vibhuti Ji, is after everything settles down, there will be a pretty sizable chunk of Democrats who will not be comfortable with socialism, and there will be a new formation, and that is where somebody like Puneet need to attract some new people into the Republican or the conservative base, where there will be definitely going to be a new formation. That's what I see. It cannot be business as usual for GOP to, assuming, I'm just talking worst case scenario, assuming GOP does not have their president and the second time, it will be 20 years wait. That is my calculation. If you do business as is, so we have to get into the school system where they're very smartly brainwashed even from the kindergarten age to become more in the name of progressive. They make the people socialist. They may so that there are a lot of things which Puneet ji has to work hard to make sure that this doesn't happen. I think I repeated many times. I was seeing my 5th grader daughter doing some course in her school, and they had some topic where it was Michelle Obama. Her video was displayed as an educational tool here in a Bible state of Tennessee to read some extract and answer. So 5th graders. So from very childhood, right? These people, icon will be, only people from one view. Now, this is how they have entered the school system. And this is where your teacher association, the union, which I was talking, they will not let it go because they are all benefiting. See what BLM said, that, we have invested huge amount during this election. So we need a paid back time, give us money back. So to me, I think we are really worried that socialism is entering America. We didn't leave India and come here with a dream to be part of a socialist regime, right? That's that's not progressive at all. And that is where I think the new Republicans should try to reach out with the ideas, as you mentioned, Puneet ji, about the storytellers, right? And OTT platform has already replaced the cable operators in India who are driven by agenda. In America, it's catching up, especially with the Epoch Times or the NTT, what is that, Newsmark, those kind of media,
Newsmax, yes.
Newsmax, right, where even Fox channel has left our president. So it's time. A lot of churning is happening. America is going through a churning process, and we have to make sure that we don't lose in long run, because that's what the Chinas and the Russias of the world will like America to be. I mean, that's my take on this.
We definitely see a concern that this is not the country we came to. The Democratic Party of 2020 is the kind of vision they have for the country. That's not the country people like us came to. We came here not to remain poor. Let me put it this way. We didn't come here to remain poor or be under a socialist regime where gadhe ghode ek saman hote hain. You establish equality between donkeys and donkeys perform great function, not to take anything from the functionality of a donkey.
Hard
but
workers.
running a race, you run a horse. To carry the weight, you use a donkey. So, it is like a functionality or the performance becomes important.
Yeah.
So if you are using a donkey and a horse in a reverse way, you have failure on both sides. But Puneet, you are an aspirational guy and looking towards Lieutenant Governor's position in Virginia. I wish you well on behalf of all our audiences and including Sharad as well. Now, look at the picture right now. How do you see your campaign running in Virginia, which is it a red state or a blue state?
It used to be red, turned purple to blue. But
Purple to
here's
blue.
very important.
Yeah.
I'll let you finish your question and I'll
No,
explain
the
it to you.
question is very simple.
How do you win?
Knowing what we do now, and mail-in voting there is a very interesting example. Somebody I know, she ran New York Assembly position. News 12 in Long Island declared her the winner. Till the 10th day, the mail-in votings started coming. And her husband shared with me yesterday that the last day, in the last 2 hours, 10,000 ballots arrived. They were not even actual ballots, they were photocopies, all for the Democratic candidate. And she lost exactly by the vote that she was leading. That's the tragedy. How Puneet Ahluwalia will deal with this harsh reality of an anti-Republican sentiment that has been, as Sharad pointed out earlier, has been installed in the minds of people that Republicans are evil. How do you contest that? How do you move forward with that?
This is a very important question. In fact, we touched on a lot of subjects today, but and that's the reason why the Democrats want to get rid of the Electoral College, is because they have the higher numbers in the suburbia. But how do I win? You see, the previous Republican candidate lost by 143,000 votes in Virginia. And I believe that if I inspire and highlight the issues which the Asian Americans are facing, and I'll take on education right now. TJ is a very fantastic school where it has always been based on merit, and a large number of Indian and Asian kids were admitted based on merits. The present administration under Governor Northam and the Secretary of Education is changing it based on your race and your color. And that has basically riled up a lot of families and a lot of folks. And what they've started doing is from school, from kindergarten onwards, including in colleges, they've basically been sharing more of the socialist idea and kind of injecting the idea of systemic racism. And I believe you and I have succeeded and excelled, not because there was any racism in there, but we were, and by the way, we were ruled also for a long time. But we have moved forward, focused on family and education and belief in our strong faith and the cultural heritage we all have inherited from. So foundation is very strong, and that's the reason we have persevered and very succeeded very well. So if we can have the large Indian American community support my candidacy, and what I've said, you just give me $10 each of us. If there are 1.8 million citizens and plus the green card holders, just give $10, which individually we raise enough money to get the message out there to win this election. There are about 65,000 Indian Americans in Virginia, and add another larger number of Asians, which would be close to 200, 300,000. If we can combine them to move, they're already ones who are already voting for Republican Party, but if we can have a shift, because I'll be the first lieutenant governor of Asian origin, we win this. We win this hands down. If I have all my Indian American friends and family come out and members of the community, and I have large scale support from folks like you who are saying, let's get a candidate like Puneet in there, we win this hands down. And the best part is within the Republican Party, there is a need for them to change and want for them to change. And I have not somebody who just came into the Republican Party just a few years ago. I've been part of it for 20 years. I know the players. We have a fantastic team on our campaign who knows how it takes to win it. So I've already built upon the certain support base, which is the Second Amendment, Constitution, religious freedom folks, pro-life folks. I've already established my strength there. But now what I need is a push, the critical margin of victory from my Asian American community, from my Indian American community. We win this hands down.
No, it is. I definitely wish you well. And I definitely am sure that you will be able to muster, because you have been part of the process for a very long time. So you will be able to muster the support of not only Indians, but every single ethnic community from every other country, because you are speaking the language, which I heard this time, is that somebody told me from one of the Southeast Asian countries, that how are you Indians supporting a socialist party like Democratic Party? Haven't you suffered enough in your own country?
Exactly.
Right? So that is the kind of a question that must trigger the minds of every Indian, because our values are essentially conservative values.
Yeah,
That's a
and
very interesting thing. Our values are essentially conservative. Now, taking that into account, how do you see in the next 3 minutes that we have, both Sharad and yourself, tell me in a minute, how do you think this administration, if it were, I mean, I'm not giving up on Trump, let me put it this way. If Trump remains the president, you are seeing a remarkable resurgence or recontinuation of the relationship between Modi and Trump. If Biden comes in, what impact it will have on Indian-US relationship in the next few days? And I will preface it with my thought. My thought is that in the short run, Biden will not touch India, because India has become very important. For a human rights issue, they will not be able to harass India, because there are human rights issues in China and Pakistan whose causes you champion here, right? So India has to become assertive. I want India to be an assertive India, a vocal India, an active India, saying that if you raise an issue of HR, hey, manage your own Black Lives Matter before you preach to us. Tell your friends in China and Pakistan to manage human rights issue there before you tell me here. Don't undermine the largest democratic nation in the world just because we have democracy and we have freedom of speech.
Agree. So I'll go first very quickly, and then Puneet can finish. So 4 areas like defense, foreign affairs, human rights, and religious tolerance, and green energy. These are some of the areas where India will like to work with the US, especially if Biden comes into power. Defense, they're good. Foreign affairs, probably it will be up and down. We'll have to see how Mr. The new
Blinken,
person,
Blinken.
he handles it. Energy, which is the main thing for the Democrats, green energy, warming of the world, and all those things. That is where India will have to will face a technology kind of taxation or some kind of a sanction to change few things. But I think Modi government has done very well. He has given some statement like Swachh Bharat and all, so he can link up that with this green energy. So he will do good there. It will resonate what Americans would like to hear. One thing I was reading, Vibhuti Ji, is where India will stand in Mr. Joe Biden's tenure, right? It's already ranked 12th now. So he started first. He took first call from Canada. So Mr. Joe Biden called Canada first. Okay. Then he turned to the European countries. He called all his allies, right? Then he called some Asian countries. Then he turned to Israel, and 12th was India. So Modi is ranked 12th now from the list of priority. So the calls definitely tells where India will be positioned now. I don't think they will change Indo-Pacific and Quad kind of thing, because there's a lot of things have happened, not only from political perspective, but from the security perspective. So that will not change, but it will not be smooth, especially if Kamala Harris has say she will be a key influencer. So overall, India will be under pressure. Yeah, I was reading the Global Times of China, and they were mocking at India, saying that all your investment has gone bad. So they are thinking that Joe Biden will not be that favorable to India, the way they are thinking. But we'll have to see. I think India has to play by its own strength and their national interest. And being a democracy, I don't think we don't have institution where we can convince America. There will be a pressure on CAA, NRC, and all those kind of things. And one last line is, I would like Donald Trump, as Tulsi Gabbard said, since he on Thanksgiving Day he pardoned that Turkey, he should also pardon all these whistleblowers of the yesteryears, whether it's a Snowden or Assange or even Michael Flynn. He should leave that legacy, because
he pardoned Michael Flynn. He pardoned Michael.
Yes,
Flynn.
he's already done that.
Yes,
So
he already done that. Yes.
So he should add to that and this 30K stock and COVID vaccine coming before December, this legacy and the Israel and the Arabs coming on same platform, nobody can match this 4 years legacy of Donald Trump. History will really, really remember him if he doesn't make after 20th January.
Puneet, you have a minute to sum it up.
Well, Vibhuti, I think Biden team, if they come in, will be consumed by the pandemic. It's on the rise. It's going to be a problem, but they'll find ways to get the economy going, because that's another disaster on their hand, and they'll be consumed with the economy, and then there'll be also the divided house. They'll have issues there because the divided Democratic Party and the divided house they have, and the internal challenges within the Democratic Party for positioning themselves for the 2024, and most importantly, winning if they can in 2022 also.
Yes.
So there's that internal fight, and then you have to realize the Democrats have been always about lip service. There's no substance there. They always want to make you feel good, give you the nice big hug and the kumbaya, but nothing tangible or substantial happens. And I believe that they would start to. The other thing is, you can see that Biden wants to reset the relationship with Iran, which is going to basically topsy-turvy the Abraham Accord, which is one of the biggest concerns. I think India should just focus on what India is all about.
Right.
I don't think they need to, and I don't think India really cares at this point, but India is kind of moving in the direction they want to move on, and they have the wind behind them. So I believe that if they stay on the bottom line, stay on the core values and core principle, which they're doing, I think India will stay fine. I think there are far more issues for the Biden administration in the next 4 years to deal with if they come back, if they are in power, which India is not on the top of the list. As Sharadji said, it was 12th on the phones that were called. So they have issues in Middle East, they have issues with Iran, they have issues with Europe. So I think that's where it is.
Yes, thank you very much, both of you. It was really very, very useful conversation.
Thank you.
A lot of optimism, caution, lesson learned, and what to do next. So with these words, I wanted to just mention one more thing here. A pretty historic thing happened in India. The Supreme Court of India chided, gave lessons to Maharashtra High Court, Maharashtra government, over Arnab Goswami's harassment that they indulged in. That was a very, very powerful thing to happen in a democracy where you live by the court, the rules, the systems, and that's the faith that we must have. I was very disappointed when Mr. Cuomo keeps taking stabs at even the Supreme Court of the United States. That Supreme Court of the United States is reflective of the majority they have over Republican and Democrats. It is a matter of shame when you undermine the system that allows you to do what you do. So when you undermine the system in one context, you cannot say that the system is good in the other context. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. See you next week. Thank you, Sharadji. Thank you, Puneet, and best of luck. And let's wait December 14th to know the true story of the American presidency. Thank you. Have a wonderful week and a great week ahead.